Hello and welcome to 30 Days of Hoya. Today we will take a look at hoyamerrillii or merrillii. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. You can see Hoya in the second frame again. This Hoya is native to Southeast Asia, to Thailand and to Philippines. In terms of temperature, you can put it in that intermediate range. So from 15 to 35 degrees of Celsius or from 60 to 95 degrees of Fahrenheit. So I think if your home is slightly cooler, that shouldn't really be an issue with this plant. It has these wonderful, very green leaves, and it has this veining on the leaf, the nervature, that is very interesting. If this Hoya gets a lot of light, the leaf will turn red and there will be a very nice contrast between the green nervature and the red leaf. Now, there are certain issues with giving your Hoyas a lot of light. I noticed on my Hoya caudata that if you give it too much light, the leaves will be smaller. They will be red, but they will be smaller. And then if it gets gentler light, the leaves will be bigger. And to me, they look more prettier. This one, you can see it has these two very big leaves. The previous leaves are slightly smaller. I actually received this as a cutting last September, I would say, and it did not really grow all that well for me. It was a very slow grower. It only grew these two leaves and then another one. I think this vine here that you can see is the new growth. It's fairly slow, I would say. It does have a new growth here and it's continuing to grow, so that makes me really happy. When I received it, you can see on this leaf, it does have slight damage here. So this is the leaf that I received the plant with, but you can see some of that reddish color. It's not so prominent anymore because this leaf is not receiving a lot of light. It's especially because it's under this one, so this leaf is kind of covering it. So it's getting less light than before, but the color is still there. I read experiences from growers that if you give this Hoya a lot of light, the leaves will turn red, but they will be smaller. So that's the similar conclusion that I have growing my Hoya caudata under a lot of light. They also say that it can happen, the plant will then struggle in winter. So for example, if you give it a lot of light in summer and you don't have as much light in winter, that it will struggle. And that really makes sense because who can provide as much light in winter, even with artificial lights? I think that's very challenging. So there is more light in summer months. Thought I saw a mealybug, not a mealybug. Let's continue. This plant I also keep under the LED lights. I did keep it in my northwest facing window during the summer and it did okay there, but towards the winter I moved it on my Hoya shelf under LED lights, and I tend to put all my Hoyas there now because the light is very even and I'm sure that they are receiving enough light. So my windows, sometimes they are very bright and then some plants will get sunburns and sometimes there is not enough light. So it's a bit of a challenge to work with my windows sometimes. So that's why I prefer to put my Hoyas, my babies, under the LED lights. It is slow. I wish it grew faster, but I guess we will have to wait. I did have some issues with it starting several times to grow and then slowing down. I think I wasn't just giving it enough water. Now it seems to be growing much better since I moved it to a new pot. The previous pot was very, very small and I obviously didn't water it frequently enough. The leaves of this plant are very hard to the touch. They are somewhat similar to Hoya Jennifer that you previously saw. I water this every 7 to 10 days. It will depend on my conditions and the temperature. I will always check the mixture to see if it needs watering. The mix is like for any of my other Hoyas. If you're watching this for the first time, then you can see here bark, perlite, cocoa peat, general potting mix, and perhaps some ceramis in this one. The plant is still very small, so it did not flower for me. I'm hoping that perhaps this summer I will see some blooms on it. They're supposed to be very small and yellow, so I'm hoping to see them. I don't know what they smell like, so that will be interesting to find out. I keep this at around 50 or 60% of humidity, but I don't think you should have a lot of challenges if you keep it in lower humidity. I don't think that the leaves will get crispier or anything like that. Maybe the new growth will be a little bit slower, but that's okay. I think it will do fine in lower humidity as well. Of course, if you have medium or higher humidity than that, you are free to try it out and then let me know if it grows faster for you. It's not a very challenging plant. I did have to contact a collector to get one, so I don't think you can get it in a garden center. Perhaps you can, depending where you live, but I'm sure you will be able to get this one in a specialized orchid or Hoya nursery if you have those around. It's not really expensive or super rare, so I think it will make a nice addition to the collection. And then, of course, you can always try to give it more light to get those very red leaves, but I would still be careful because maybe that means that in winter the plant will suffer a bit. This was Hoya merrillii, and I will see you in our next 30 Days of Hoya.